everyone. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. I have a very, very special guest here for the show today. And I just wanted to announce to the world that we've been pinging and missing each other. But what I want to do is have her announce her name and where she's calling from today.
Hi, Kimberly. I am Andrea Putting, and I am in Melbourne, Australia. So, Kimberly and I have been having that kind of time zone thing happening to try and find a time that works for us.
It's not about me, it's about you. Can we talk about your past leading up into your present? However long you want to go, I'll just sit and listen. If I have any questions between those times, I'll let you know.
All right, then. About me. Well, I was an at-home mum for many years. I was very fortunate to be able to stay home with my kids, but these days I know how hard that is. And while they were at school, I went and studied naturopathy and thought that that was my direction and I would become a naturopath. And so I was able to do that while the kids were home. And I started my own business on the internet way back last century in the dinosaur era of the internet, dial-up internet, no Google, no Facebook, no easy to make websites. I had to learn HTML, be able to make a website back then. So it was quite a challenge. It was a bit pioneering, I guess. Anyway, so I started this website and started my own business. And that started to become successful. But I got to this point about 7 years in where I was like, maybe the 7-year itch. I was like, well, what am I doing? I studied naturopathy for 4.5 years so that I could sit here and pack parcels and send them off. I lost my passion. So then I sold the business and I got a job as a business manager, and I was able to use my skills as naturopathy and all the skills that I'd learned from running my own business and being on the internet. And so I got a job, and then I realized after a few years that this wasn't it. It wasn't fulfilling me, and I was seeing all the cracks in the corporate world because I could see what was going on. And I was like, no, this isn't me. It just wasn't right. And I stood I was walking home across the road to the train station one day on a Friday afternoon, and the gate was dinging at that point, and we had to walk across the track to get to the other side. And I looked up and there was this express train coming towards me, and I thought, it would be so easy to step in front of that train. So I realized that I was in a complete depression. It was kind of something just kind of pulled me back and put me into reality. But that was a real wake-up call that this was not right for me, and I had to find something new to do with my life. And so I did leave my job. I was fortunate enough to be able to do that. And I went on this grand search of what is my purpose and what is wrong with the business world, because when I was an at-home mum, my husband was working 80 hours a week, and he was no time for himself, no time for the family, no time for me. And it was just, I was like, what is that? And then my business, I lost passion. And then I was in the business world and I thought, well, people aren't happy here. Why is that? So I was kind of on this search of all that and my purpose and what was going on. And in the middle of all that, I got sidetracked by an event that happened in Sydney. Well, I was sitting here safely in my home office, right here, looking out at my elm tree in my beautiful home. And I was watching this event unfold on the internet over live streamed from the news services. And this was 2014, December the 15th. And a gunman had taken hostage a chocolate cafe. And he was claiming that he was doing this in the name of God. And he was a Muslim, and obviously he was not right in the head. However, what happened in the conclusion of this was the gunman and 2 innocent hostages had been killed. In the aftermath, we thought there was this fear that there'd be retaliation against the Muslim community for this, because it was kind of in that time. But what happened was something completely different. 150,000 people took to social media with the hashtag I will ride with you. Now, what happened then was, there was this massive outpouring of love and compassion for the Muslim community, and saying, no, you belong here. You are part of our community. People did not respond in hate and terror. They responded in love and peace. And this really sat with me, and I thought, well, why is it that we wait until there's a tragedy before we stand up and say we are people of love and compassion and we accept all people? Why is it we wait? So I started Chocolate and Coffee Day for Religious Harmony, which started the following year. And with just that simple idea of reach out to someone who's different to you, whether it's religious, cultural, opinions, sexual orientation, disability, ability, whatever it is, someone who is different to you, and share in a chocolate and a coffee and just have a conversation. Learn about the other person, listen to their stories. When we do this, we break down those barriers that divide community. So it was just a simple and beautiful experience of people reaching out to other people and just having a cuppa and having a conversation. And chocolate just makes it all so much nicer. And so when I looked at this, I thought, well, what a difference having a social mission made to me in my life. It made me feel like there was something, I had something of value to give. And it gave me a reason to get up every day and just brought joy to my life. And I thought, well, what happens if we incorporate social mission into business? So then I went on that search. And I started a podcast, Social Mission Revolution, to explore what does it mean to have social mission in business. And what I found was that when people incorporate social mission, that their business is more productive, more innovative, and more profitable. And employees are a lot happier in their workplace, business owners have more passion, and consumers really love to support businesses who support the community. So with all that, it was just beautiful talking to people about this. And so that led me to writing 2 books on the topic, which is Compassionate Prosperity, When Success is Not Enough, which is directed towards business, and then Compassionate Purpose, Discovering a Life of Fulfillment, which is more directed towards individuals. So then that whole experience, I ended up self-publishing. I had 3 books to publish at the same time because it was during COVID, and that's what you do during COVID. So I couldn't publish 3 books at one time. So I paid for experts to teach me about self-publishing. And from that, people now ask me to publish their books. So voila, somehow I ended up as a publisher as well as all these other beautiful things that I do.
Tell me more about your first book and what it entails more, a little bit more about it. Tell me about chapter 1 of your book.
Chapter 1 of my books?
Yes, of one of your books, the first book that you mentioned.
Compassionate Prosperity, the first chapter. I talk about what it means to have that ecosystem of a social mission, what social mission really is about. And I compare it to my beautiful elm tree that's sitting out in front of me, about how that ecosystem works. And I've looked at the different examples of different types of trees. You can have a bonsai and cut it all up and control it, or you can have this beautiful growth that happens. It supports other parts of community. It supports insects, birds, it flows with the environment, the wind and the storms, and just weathers them because it has that beautiful growth. It's a place where my grandchildren can play under. It's a safe haven for my cockatoo to play under, and it brings a lot of joy. And as it grows, those sprouts, it sends its seeds to the wind and grows further and becomes stronger. And I kind of see social mission like that, is that it allows that growth. It allows the support of greater things. It isn't just thinking about its own nourishment. It allows that support to go elsewhere. But social mission is about, so I talk about in this chapter is about what social mission is. So I know it's kind of a term that I use that not everyone else uses. But social mission is about having a social impact. So it could be about having your business, say, volunteering at your employees, volunteer maybe together, which I think is a great way of doing it. Having a day where you all volunteer together. It could be raising funds. It could be becoming a social enterprise, which is a whole thing business directed intentionally to support other avenues of the community. So many things. There's so many different ways to become a social mission, which I go through in the book. But one of the stories that I talk about in the second, I'm going to the second chapter because I've done this in both books. In the second chapter of both books is these incredible stories, two different stories. But in Compassionate Prosperity, I share the story of both of them are property developers, really interesting. And he was extremely successful in his business, and he was developing property throughout Australia. And he got to this point where he became depressed because of his success. It was like, well, what else is there in life? I don't know what else there is in life. I've done everything. What now? There's nothing left to do. And so he fell into a depression and became suicidal because it was like, well, there's nothing left to do. But his family and his friends started to notice that he wasn't the happy, jovial person that he normally was. And they set him aside and said, you've got to do something about this. What's going on? And what he did was then he rearranged his whole business, restructured his whole business so that it was focused on what was good for the community. It was no longer about what was good for me and lining my pockets. Well, it still had to make financial success, but it was what did the community need? How can I support the community? And so it became a story of making a real difference in lives of thousands of people, ensuring that they had a home that they could live in. So his structure of way he developed properties was now about finding homes for as many people as possible who just couldn't afford to get into the property market or couldn't afford rents even. So that's a story that I love to share because it really says that success is not enough. You need to have that something more. That financial success isn't enough for people to sustain their life of happiness and fulfillment. Kimberly, I can't hear you at all. You're on mute.
My apologies. Let's start over. Well said, by the way. Do you think that depression skyrocketed after COVID or before COVID in your country? Like, what do you think, since you have taken neuropathy courses for 4 years, where do you think depression started rising in your country, or when?
Well, there was always an element of depression, of course, in the community. And the figures that I had that were pre-COVID was about 1 million people a year suffer from depression or anxiety. And, we're a country of 20 million people. So that's
10%.
a big number.
Yeah.
But during COVID, yes, depression skyrocketed. And I remember myself having a moment where I just felt like I'd gone back into another part of my life where I just wanted to curl up and not do. It was just, everything was just, I was just depressed, and felt like this nothingness. So it really did skyrocket during COVID, and became a lot more evident because in Melbourne, where I live, we had more lockdowns than anywhere else in the world. We're the lockdown capital.
Wow.
So we pretty much spent most of 2 years in lockdown. So there was a lot of depression. And I believe that's because people weren't connecting and they weren't having that fulfillment. They weren't able to go and socialize. They weren't able to do those things that are important, which to me, I kind of put it down to, we're not able to make that difference in the world that we need to make to keep our life happy and fulfilled. Because that was my experience in the past when I had found myself in a depression, that what pulled me out of that was turning my life around and looking at how I can help other people and what I can do to support community. And so once I started focusing on other people rather than myself, that all changed. So there's still that element of depression. I hope it's lifted since COVID. People are feeling more positive. But there's also a lot of people that are still living in that fear of COVID and are still, and I think those people are really suffering with their mental health, because to them that fear is very real. And so they, it's a problem. It's a problem. It's still a problem in this country.
I'm sorry to hear that. So, can you tell me about neuropathy? I know it's the study of the neurons, or what is it, and what does it entail?
Naturopathy I studied, which is natural medicine.
Natural medicine. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. So the way that I see it when I left my job was that naturopathy was about, one of the first things that I learned is you've got to treat the cause.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like that's what I was doing looking at business. I was like, okay, there's got to be a healing here. There's got to be something else. I've got to look for the cause. And as I looked for the cause and looked for the cause and looked through the cause, I still come back to like, we are who we are is fundamentally, we are community based. We need to have community. We need to feel like we're making a difference. That is the core of our life. That's so, when I just keep diving deeper and deeper, and I find when we do that, we are happier and healthier. And there's study and research that shows that people who do volunteer, for example, are happier and healthier, have greater social networks, live longer. And so all those kind of things, it's just really important. It was kind of where studying naturopathy took to me, instead of going off and I could heal with herbs and diet and homeopathy and all sorts of things. However, this is where it's led me. So life takes you on interesting journeys.
Well said. And do you have, I just wanted to know your background with education. Do you have a doctorate, a associate's, a master's, a bachelor's? Sorry, I didn't say it in a proper order.
No. Naturopathy, what I have is called an advanced diploma, but it's actually a bachelor, equivalent to a bachelor's degree.
Okay.
It's just that my our government at the time that I studied it wouldn't accept it as a bachelor's degree. However, just after I finished it, they did. So it's the equivalent of bachelor's degree.
Great. And speaking of, the equivalent and everything, how is the school system there, the college system, should I say, the school and the college system? Are they like different, like than the United States? Have you ever been to the United States, by the way? So you may not know, or you
Yes,
may.
I've been there. I have a vague idea of, mainly from TV and movies, about the American system. Not that I necessarily understand it, but I hear phrases and I go, I don't know what that means, and I have to go and look it up. But we have so we have primary school, which is from 5-year-olds to about 11, 12, and then go to high school until the end of year 12. So the kids have done 13 years of school by the time they finish. And then they can choose to go to college or university. So they go straight to university from high school.
Okay. Okay. And where do you see yourself going for the future with everything you have done and everything you have accomplished, Miss Andrea? Thank you for joining my show too again.
Thank you. So my future is I like the future to take me where it wants me to go.
I like it.
Where I feel I'm going is developing my publishing business into a bigger kind of operation where which incorporates all the important things to me. So I'm going to be talking about chocolate and coffee for the rest of my life, I think, because I love this experience of people coming together and having that opportunity to break down barriers. So and that has its opportunities to expand into bigger and broader networks and ideas and concepts. I will always be talking about social mission, about how important it is for us to be making a difference. So then I want to bring that into the publishing. So my publishing business is around transformational coaches who have that message, who do want to make a difference in the world. And so there'll be collaborations and things with that. And I see myself doing what you're doing and developing this into a TV show where I talk about all of these magical, mystical, wonderful things that go on in my world, and bringing people together, having conversations and exploring different ideas and different concepts around people working together. Collaboration is just such an important thing for me, collaboration and community. So I will be working greater on those topics within both my publishing and when I do start my TV show, that's where we will go with that.
I wanted to say a couple of things for you. I'm pretty sure you're a very smart lady, by the way. I just wanted
Thank
to
you.
just because I always do this on my show. Number one, maybe you can take your chocolate and coffee onto Shark Tank. Just you know what Shark Tank is, by the way.
Sorry, what is?
Yeah, it's okay. Shark Tank is a show
Oh,
that,
Shark Tank, yes.
yeah, maybe you can make like a special because you have Australian chocolate. Maybe you can find some chocolate, like go around looking for some great grade A chocolate to bring and mix it together with your Australian chocolate that you have in, that's already there, and bring it on Shark Tank and talk about and make some good coffee, or wherever you go in your country, find different exotic chocolates and coffees, to sit up there and bring on the Shark Tank. Or it don't even have to be Shark Tank. It could be a TEDx speaker event. The reason why I say that is because I feel like chocolate and coffee is a better alternative than alcohol. You see what
Oh,
I'm saying?
yes.
And that is a really good way to break the ice because it's an aphrodisiac, and it has good healing properties too, and benefits. So I feel like that would be a great thing for you possibly to do. A TEDx, you just look like you could be up on TEDx. You have an extensive, history of things. So I was just wondering about that. What is your input? If not, it's okay.
Yeah, so I am a speaker. I have been speaking for all my life since I was a small child. I found myself at the front at church speaking, so that's my life. That's my comfort zone. Yes, TEDx. I would love to get into a TEDx. If someone out there wants to invite me to do a TEDx, that'd be awesome. Yes, so definitely that's on my agenda is to do that. And I have a few topics that I'd love to explore in the TEDx. So
I can tell
I'll be
you
looking at that.
I can tell you know how to type and write very well. So my it's a website that's a TEDx.com, and you can go on there and try to sign up for free. It's
Yeah.
a free site. And if you don't get invited, it's a free site. So I tried it. I didn't get it because I'm not, well, I can't write that good. I probably have to get referred. But I like I said, you're a well roundabout person that can speak very well. I can see it and I can hear it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And if you had to give a piece of advice to a young entrepreneur out there, whether struggling or not, what would your advice be for under 2 minutes before we wrap up?
My advice for entrepreneurs is to follow your heart, which I talk about in my books, in one of the books. So listen to what it is that is calling you and discover that's so important. It's often beyond the why. They talk about, Simon Sinek says, go beyond the why. Well, I want you to go beyond the why and look at what is calling you that you may not make sense. What is it that gives you the passion and the power to move on and create something amazing that's going to get you up every morning? Find your superpowers. Now, and I've just realized that what I've talked about is compassionate purpose. That's all in that book. So grab yourself a copy of Compassionate Purpose and follow that methodology that's in that book to find that important thing that's calling you to greatness. Focus on that, and that will keep you going, get you up in the morning when you're feeling tired and worn out. You will still get up if that passion is there, and when you're working with your passion, you don't burn out.
Well said. Thank you so much, Andrea, for joining my show. Can you go ahead and tell the people how to reach you?
They can reach me through LinkedIn. They just Google my name, Andrea Putting. That's Putting with a double T, not the dessert. And you will find me easily because I am the only one in the world. So you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find my website, andreaputting.com.au, and you can pick up my books on Amazon if you like, or any other your favorite internet bookseller.
Okay, and I just stay on the line. Thank you everybody for joining my show today. It's been a great show today. Y'all close your eyes and give a round of applause to Andrea. Like, you don't even have to close your eyes, but just give her a round of applause. She is a well-rounded person from Australia. We were having trouble for those who just joined the show with pinging together, and it's been an honor to sit up there and interview her. Thank you, Miss Pudding. Stay on the line. You take care, you guys, and I'll see y'all next time.
Thanks, Kimberly.